Luis Miguel, the CEO of Avantpage, a language services company, primarily based in the United States, but also we're branching out into Europe with our life sciences division. My path into localization has been a little, I started working in the plant sciences area here at Davis. This is why I came to Davis, where I currently reside, where our company is based. And then after a few years, I decided that what was really interesting to me and was the emerging computer industry. I'm a bit of a dinosaur here, and in my 60s. So I've been around the block a few times, and I love being in the vanguard of the technology, the computer revolution that was happening. Our first computer was one of the Apple IIs, and when Steve Jobs was just getting started. And I worked in that industry for a few years, and actually in that industry, I encountered localization for the first time in the software side of things. And I decided to follow my passion. And let me give you a short story about where that passion comes from, because my entry into this field of localization it comes from the heart. That's really my why. A story about it is when I was a young father, I met a number of parents in my kids' school, and I became good friends with Raul from Peru, who also happened to be a soccer coach, and I was very passionate about soccer at the time. And one day he asked me to help him go to a clinic. Normally his daughter, Lucia, interpreted for him. But this time he had a cyst that he was a little worried about. He thought it might be something serious and didn't want to alarm little Lucia. So he asked me to do so. I was very glad to go and interpret for him. Luckily, it was not a cancerous growth. It was a benign cyst, and they took it out with a simple in-office procedure that day. That incident showed me the importance of having professional, well-qualified, even though at that time I was not a professional in the field, but I've been doing this on and off for a number of years. Similarly to that, when I was a student at the university here in Davis, I enrolled in a course of international agricultural development. And part of the course was to go around a lot of the farms in California. And with the class, I was the only person in the class that spoke Spanish. I'm originally from Mexico. And a lot of the migrant workforces that we encountered were from Central America, Mexico, South America, and they speak Spanish. And I was interpreting between my group and the workforces that we saw. And I started talking to some of those workers, and wonderful people. But I realized that a lot of them were not really able to understand their employers' circumstances. Their kids were not getting good quality education, and because they were unable to really participate fully in the society where they were, precisely because of the language barrier that we're experiencing. So these two incidents are illustrative of why I was brought into the localization translation industry a few years later. We've been members of GALA for over 10 years. I find the association, I was a member, we've been a member not me as personally, but the companies, of several of the other associations for a number of years. And, there's really other wonderful associations in the industry. But I found that I really enjoyed the international aspects of GALA, the fact that it brings academia, it brings the client side of things, it brings the language service provider side of things. It brings together, it's a global agglomeration of people, and it has a very professional and dedicated administrative staff, like you, for example. And at the same time, it is volunteer driven. And I find it to be very, very neutral in terms of how fair it is in how it chooses its members. Some of the other associations were I found to be a little parochial, that the membership was very, clustered around a smaller number of individuals. And so I really enjoyed being a participant in it. At the very beginning, it was mostly just a consumer of information. Over time, as I became a bit more confident talking in public, and my company grew a bit more, I started to volunteer. And that volunteerism is a very powerful word. I think that it really encapsulates the essence of what I really enjoy about GALA, because you can tailor how much time you dedicate to it. You can choose not to participate at all and just go to the annual conference, for example, or you can choose to just give a webinar every once in a while, or to be part of one of the special interest groups, write an article. We've done a number of those things, and sometimes we're busier, sometimes we're a little bit less so. And so I just find that it is high quality. It provides a wide variety of high quality content that comes from some of the best minds in the industry. And it promotes, I think, the well-being of all of the aspects, the translators, the translation companies, the universities, the colleges, the actual end clients of all kinds of different areas in a very nice way. I would really think that creating it is encapsulated in Avantpage. Avantpage is a company that I poured my soul into for the last 25 plus years. And we're very proud to have created a company that has a culture of a very positive and nurturing culture, and also that is purpose-driven. We have essentially created a place where we have very well-defined values and a very well-defined mission that is very much with the story that I told you at the beginning, that encapsulates our why. Our mission is to enable immigrants to reach their American dream. Very simple, yet I believe it's very powerful. And we do that through language services, right? But we're also rooted in 3 simple values that we call empathy. So we like to listen to everybody. That is important. It's opportunity. We provide opportunities for our people and our clients, for example, to succeed, for immigrants to move forward, and the rigor. of course, that rigor is very important. That's another one of the things I really like about GALA, is that you always have a very high level of professionalism in everybody that participates, the staff, the members, the volunteers, the conference, and so on. So I, at Avantpage, what our current mission is, as I mentioned to you, I'm a bit on the older side, and I'm grooming, people to be able to keep the company going after I am gone. I would like to have an entity that endures beyond my stay, and that continues to be purpose and value driven. So we continuously receive offers from multiple sources to acquire or merge or become part of a larger entity. And we have very deliberately decided that it is better for us to be able to keep this and develop this entity in a way that I think we can shape the good that we bring. As a personal matter, I've always told my kids, my employees, my peers, that I'd like to leave the world just a little bit better than I found it. And if we can do that with Avantpage, that would be a great accomplishment. And I believe we're taking steps in that direction. And GALA, I think, is an organization that encourages that and looks at contributions, not just by how much money you make, but actually the impact that you have in the wider world. Very good question, and something that actually we are confronted with on a regular basis, because if you look at the way many of our competitors and other industries, they place those values based mostly on business efficiency or delivering great, technology, which is great, of course. I believe that to be super important, and we place a lot of importance on that. We have great technology here, and we are working actively in developing that. But I believe that our focus on the whole picture, on what the impact that we have on we sort of identified a number of pillars that are important for us. The providers that we work with, the customers that are the end recipients of our services, the employees that that work with us, and ultimately because our clients are normally not the immigrants or the limited English proficient people, but the actual consumers of the language services. And for example, with employees, we have a great number of them that are coming to us looking for jobs and staying with us because they see the values that we espouse. They talk to our peers, to their peers, and they see that we actually live it. It's not only a slogan. I've been surprised when I'm interviewing some people that they actually have told me about interviews that they've seen of me, in which we talk about those values. So see, this what you're helping us do tonight has an impact. And for our customers, there's a number of customers that we work with, and a lot of the people that actually are in the front lines that are delivering the services, that are processing the work, are also very dedicated people that value the very efficient process and the make sure that you deliver things on time and that you deliver it with the quality and in the specifications that they want. But they also know that there is something that is going beyond that in the way we serve them, in the way that we work with our linguists, our desktop publishing people, our proofers, and ultimately that we are all in the same boat, that we want to make sure that they and their customers communicate effectively and seamlessly in a way that actually goes beyond just delivering good morning and buenos dias or buongiorno, right? Um, so it actually attracts the customers that have those kinds of values. And the industry is huge. There's many customers, and some of them are going to be caring about these things, and those are the ones that we are more in tune with. We are competing in a marketplace, and we love the competition because I think it helps us to be better. And where we're considered to be a mid-tier provider in terms of our, the volume of our sales. And we're competing against companies that are 1 to 3 orders of magnitude larger than us. So they have a lot bigger budgets to invest in what they do. So we are very careful with what areas we invest in. We tend to look at what's going to bring the most value to our customers. And that's something that do it in a way that is price effective for us. So, for example, we have, Spanish is by volume over 50% of our sales, because this is the by far the largest language that is spoken in the United States after English. And so we have an in-house Spanish reviewing team. We also have a very well-developed desktop publishing team, because again, after the actual translation localization of things, that is our biggest service. That is normally a big part of everything that we do. We also have, of course, the rigor items like ISO certification. We put a lot of emphasis in the quality because of the rigor value that we have. So we have DQA and LQA, right? Desktop publishing quality assurance and linguistic quality assurance. And we have lately been, and I guess this is where my computer science background helps a lot, developing a suite of technology tools. A number of years ago, I saw that the industry was moving in a very technological driven direction. And the world is also becoming very data driven. And so it took us a while to get started because of the budgets and the difficulty of finding the right teams. But we slowly but steadily put together a team of people that are experts in the software, the systems areas. And today we have a very well designed sort of core where we have all data that we produce collected and normalized. And there, that allows us to be able to understand our business, provide this data in a very effective way to our customers. And we're developing a suite of tools that are completely centered around providing better services to our customers. So this is the kind of, I would say, areas that I would suggest companies our size look into. It's not as easy to do sometimes, especially developing this technology expertise. But different circumstances are, you have to evaluate what makes sense for your company. But I believe that this is really critical today, to have all of the infrastructure things that you have to do well, the accounting and the bookkeeping and the processes and the quality assurance. But at the same time, I think you have to be able to provide some really customer-centered technology so that your customers continue to move and evolve, and you're competitive when you're going against clients that are much, much larger than us. It's a really good question, because you've probably heard this a lot of times. People in my position are complaining that customers only care about cost, the lowest price. We are not the best match for lowest price. We choose to compete on value and purpose and high quality service. And lots of times customers that only care about the actual money that minimizing the money that they put out undervalue things like the amount of time saved, the quality of the product that they're going to be receiving and delivering to their customers, the overhead that comes with processing something that is not quite as good, the risk that they carry by having something that is of lower quality, because there's always a trade-off, right? In terms of what you deliver by a certain amount of money. There's time, there's cost, there's quality. And you can't provide the highest level of all three things all the time. So something has to give. So we try to find the right balance there, something that actually provides really high value for our customers. So we find ourselves in circumstances where if we're working with a procurement department in a government agency that has written a bid based only on price, that sometimes we will not even look at those kinds of opportunities. Other times what we do is we try to bid and value different services there a bit differently so that we can still be competitive and hopefully be able to win. But really the best match for us are those entities, those organizations that really understand that the financial disbursement that they're going to make is only one aspect, and in general it actually tends to be one of the smallest expenses, because there's their time, there's the overhead of working with lower quality services, there is the risk, the extra risk they're going to be running that the product or the service they're receiving is not exactly what they're getting. And then there's the long-term relationship that they create. You don't want to be changing vendors all the time because you lose a lot of the know-how that you build. And ultimately, I think there's the ethical considerations of knowing that you're working with a provider that they're not going to be giving you a translation that is, if your contract says you are not allowed to use machine translation, that they're not. If it says that you're not allowed to process this outside of the United States, that it's not done in a lower cost country, that the translators and the employees that are working on this are actually getting paid and treated in a decent way. So I think all those factors are the value proposition that we choose to stand from. And that's the kind of example that we want to set for all our people that work with us. And as the CEO, as the head of this company, we're always under huge scrutiny. And we need to make sure that our actions are our guide for those that are working with us and for us. Because if we say one thing and do another, people will notice and they will do the same thing. So that's how we look at this about providing the best value. I wouldn't say there's any one particular thing. There's a number of really important things that I've gone through that I can actually give to other people. And I would say that when you start doing something that's important to you, whether it is starting your own company or a job, to make sure that you take care of the basics of that, the rigor that I talked about, because that I think is the fundamental upon which the rest of things are going to be able to be built. Make sure that you have a sound grounding that undergirds what you're doing if you're building something. And then, you can start building upon that and creating a framework like the one that, we're talking about today for Avantpage, where you create your purpose and you start developing people, and you start developing an image and start doing a wider, I think, good around you. But you need to have that very solid core. You have to be very good at what you do. And I always told the people that we hire at a company, many companies like to say that they're like a family. And I don't think that's the right analogy for us, because in families, you're a member there regardless, right? You sort of were born into that. And you're not going to kick out your kid. But here we actually are more like a club where you have to qualify to be there. It brings together people of like-mindedness, values, and so on. But you have to make sure that you qualify to be there. So that's how I see that.